What is up, everybody? It's Bart Johnson here. It's Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Time to go live. I have been really bad about sticking to that schedule and actually haven't been live for several weeks because there's been a lot of stuff going on. But you know what? That's all the more reason for you to make sure that if you haven't already, to go ahead and subscribe and click that notification bell so that even though I am inconsistent, you will at least know when we are going live. So we are here because there was no way I was going to miss chiming in on the topic that we're going to be looking at today, which of course is Blackmagic's newest announcement, a 12K URSA Mini Pro. Yeah, crazy. So we've got a lot to talk about, a lot of things that I'm sure you guys want to say, a lot of things that I want to say. Are we excited about this? Are we not excited about this? What could this possibly mean? And that's really what I want to look at. But of course, before we dive right in, I want to go over some housekeeping things for the show here, because of course, today is a live show, which means that I am here to interact live with you guys who are here in the chat. Let me switch over here. Here we go. We already have some people in the chat. Thank you very much for being here. We've got Walter from being Detroit, EK Photography, was it Langstonus Rex, and we actually even, I have it up here, Mark Oliver Chouinard, sorry if I mispronounced that, was already in here before the stream even started, dropping some knowledge and everything. So please, guys, do feel free to interact and hang out here in the chat because we got a lot to talk about, and that's the beauty and fun of this. So I'll get to these chat comments in just a second, and we will be talking and interacting throughout the show. But one last thing that I've been doing with my shows lately, we did it last time, and it's a lot of fun. Hello, by the way, EK Photography. And he's already got some questions. We're going to have a good conversation today about this camera and what it means. But I have been doing a weekly poll for these shows, and we'd like to do them live. And what that means is that I like to share the link to the poll with you guys at the beginning of the show. And as you're watching live, you can go ahead and cast your vote, and then we'll check in at the end of the show and see what you guys thought. So without further ado, I'm going to bring that poll up now. If you are watching the replay, the poll is still live. I like to leave them live, and there's a link down in the chat, or down in the description. But this is going to be our poll for today. It was, when would you personally make use of 12K footage? So this is assuming that you had the camera. You know, it was provided to you, you already had it. But these are the sort of things like, when would you make use of that actual 12K resolution? If I had the media storage and a computer for it, I would use it all the time. So if all the, you know, all the post-production and everything and storage wasn't a problem, would you use it all the time? Or would you only use it for high-end projects that were ending up on like a big screen? I know there's not a lot of big screen stuff happening these days, but you know, maybe that's something that you work on. And let's see here, would the extra resolution be useful for your VFX shots? Are you somebody who's doing a lot of VFX, and that is something that, you know, the 12K would be useful for? Or do you fall into that camp of, I would never have a reason to use it? So without further ado, let me post this into the chat here so that you guys can begin your voting. So there, if you are here live in the chat, that is now in the chat. There's the link right there. And again, if you're watching the replay, the link is down in the description. Chat is blowing up. This is awesome. Let's do this. I see we just got a subscriber here. That's my buddy Koichi, who I was just texting about this camera. 157 Pictures just subscribed. Thank you, Koichi. Why were you not subscribed before? I'm just kidding. Don't worry about it, man. But let's see what we got in this chat. We got a lot going on here. So Kevin, the basic filmmaker, is in here. EK Photography is asking about why the P6K can't do 4K RAW when the 12K can obviously do this. I'm sure there's some engineering issues with the sensor on that, so I can't answer necessarily. Trevor is in here. Good to see you as always. Some of our regulars in here. EK Photography saying, I went from Pocket 4K to Pocket 6K, and the main storage and working with the file is a big difference. Yeah, I actually have both the Pocket 4K and the Pocket 6K, and yeah, there are some differences, especially when you start working in that 6K B-RAW, which we're going to talk about, because obviously we've got 12K B-raw now to think about, and what could that look like. And Blackmagic has some specs for us as to what that could look like. Langstonius Rex, how long do you think until we see the tech from the 12K in cameras in units not targeted at the super high end? That's a big thing that I want to talk about today. So hello from Germany, good to see. We got a great chat going in here. Rex, like you were saying, what I kind of want to focus on today, because there's tons of videos out there about the specs, about do you need 12K and all this kind of stuff. I want to look at sort of what this sensor and what this camera can do. Look at the price point of it, which is crazy. You know, Blackmagic likes to disrupt stuff, and I think they've done it again here. But even if this camera isn't for you, I think there's excitement here in the new tech. Not only resolution, but they've got some other cool tech going on with this new sensor that we could then see trickle down into other Blackmagic cameras. But also, I think they have put some serious pressure on some of the other manufacturers out there. So, you know, obviously it sort of seems like they're trying to squeeze into Red's market a little bit. You know, poor Canon, we were all R5 everything for a couple days, you know, 8K, and then just now it's 12K. So, you know, and of course they're different cameras, different price points, different, you know, target audience. But, you know, Blackmagic kind of swept a lot of the stuff under the rug here. So, all right. Get into the chat here. Nazar's asking, the autofocus is good. If it's like most of the other actually all the other Blackmagic cameras, there is no continuous autofocus. I don't believe this one has it either. Usually if you have an autofocus lens, you can do a little tap and it'll autofocus, but it will not continuously autofocus and track. I have not seen any different for the 12K camera. So you're not going to be doing a lot of live autofocus tracking and all that kind of stuff. But let's see here. First, for those of you who may not know, we are going to take a quick peek at the camera itself and some of these specs so that we can really start talking about it. Let's go ahead and... Nope. That's my behind the scenes. There we go. You can tell I haven't been live in a little bit, right? So here we go, guys. There's a link down below where you can peruse this at your leisure, and also a link down below in the description to the live announcement stream that Blackmagic had, so you can see Grant talk about everything. But this is the landing page for the Blackmagic URSA Mini Pro 12K. So right up front, here are your top specs. You've got an 80 megapixel sensor, 12K resolution, Super 35 sized. So we're sticking to that size that we saw in actually always in the URSA Mini line, all the way from the original 4K to the 4.6K to the Pro to the G2, and now we have this guy. So they're staying in Super 35, and them being able to get that kind of performance out of a sensor of that size, man, there's got to be some horsepower in that processing. Digital film, extreme resolution. So yeah, like I was saying, there's that cinematic Super 35 12K sensor. This sensor is brand new. Blackmagic has developed this sensor, and they have really developed it from start to finish with their pipeline in mind. And what I mean by that is it is optimized for their Blackmagic RAW. So the camera actually only shoots Blackmagic RAW. We're going to get into that. So there's no more ProRes like you find in the pocket cameras and all of that. If you're shooting this particular camera, you're going to be using Blackmagic RAW. But that has allowed them to do some amazing things and engineer it the way that they want. And one of the biggest features about this is that it says right here, the new 12K sensor has equal amounts of red, green, and blue pixels. So what they're calling this is actually, instead of a CMOS Bayard sensor, like most are, they're calling this an RGB sensor. So it is some new tech in the way that it does it. It is not a Bayard sensor. And what that's allowing them to do is to capture images at lower resolutions like 8K, 6K, and 4K, still using the whole sensor. So normally when you have, in RAW, that's the big thing, in RAW, because there's always downscaling in other formats like ProRes and all that, but in RAW. So you can get RAW 4K out of this. You don't have to shoot the 12K, but you're not going to be punching in on that sensor to a 1-to-1 like you have to on pretty much every other camera. As far as I know, there's nothing else that does this. You're getting use of the full sensor, still getting RAW, getting all your data. You're just keeping it in a smaller, or you're getting it in a smaller resolution, which means the potential for the amount of detail that's in those lower resolutions, 4K, 6K, 8K, is just crazy. And that really is the tech breakthrough in this, I think. You know, I'm going to dive right into it and say it right now. I think that is the big wow factor of this. And yes, they've come out hitting hard at the top with a $10,000 camera. Insane, by the way. 12K RAW camera for 10K. Like, Red's got to be sweating. Like, sweating more than I am in here because it's super hot. But this is insane. And like I said, while this particular camera may not be for you, I think the possibilities of this tech moving forward in both Blackmagic cameras, and also the fact that they're able to do this at this price point, is going to put some serious pressure on other camera manufacturers, and we're going to start seeing a lot more performance for the money. That's just what I'm throwing that out there right now. So yeah, shooting 12K, edit on a laptop. This is the B-RAW. They're really able to optimize everything because they are running everything from start to finish in this camera's pipeline. They made the sensor, they made the camera, they made the codec, and then they make the software that is optimized to use it. The only thing they're not making is the computer. So basically, they have been able to optimize this because they have control of that entire pipeline. So everyone's worried about, you know, will I be able to handle 12K? Well, you know, they're saying that yes, that you could even do it on a laptop. Now, how beefy is that laptop? You know, I don't know. During the live stream, Grant was running simultaneous 9 streams of 12K simultaneously without a hitch, but he was running it on a Mac Pro, and I'm sure it was a pretty beefy Mac Pro. But still, the potential is crazy there. Tons of other stuff in here. Generation 5 color science, we could do a whole video on just that alone. I'm excited to see that new color science. I hope that color science comes to the pocket cameras and the other you know, previous existing cameras that are out there. That would be awesome. Their color science 4 was a huge upgrade from 3, and I can't wait to see what they've done with 5. And then we've got frame rates to talk about on this camera too. Because they're able to optimize everything so much. I see our chat's going nuts. Don't worry guys, I'll get back to you. I just want to go through these specs. But yeah, so 12K up to 60 frames per second. There's some caveats because it's like, you know, different punches in and stuff. 8K up to 110 frames per second. 4K up to 220 frames per second. Now those are not full sensor. They do have, I believe it's like a 17:9 in the 12K, 60 frames per second. And I believe the 4K 220 is actually a Super 16 crop on the sensor. So you'll get some crop. But I mean, we're used to seeing that with cameras when you get into those high frame rates as well. And 4K 220, that's crazy. So here's the bit rates and showing you all that. Like I said, there's a ton of info on here, guys. I want you to be able to dive into it at your own leisure, as opposed to me just spending time guiding you through their website. So let's get into the chat here and let's start talking about what you guys think about this. Because everybody definitely has their thoughts on this. So chat's been going nuts. Let me come back a little bit and see where we left off. We were talking about that. EK Photography is letting me know who he is on Instagram. Awesome. I will find you and follow you on Instagram. And guys, if you haven't found me on Instagram or any of the other social media platforms, I am Bart Johnson Prod or Bart Johnson Productions on pretty much every platform. So make sure to follow me on there. We got a hi from Denmark. This is all the cool kids are here today. Kevin saying, so for the nearly $10,000, I could buy the Canon R5s at 8K I could buy 3 Canon R5s at 8K and get 24K. That math works, right? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, just combine them all together and do like a gigapixel kind of thing. And yeah, you can get 24K. Let me know how editing that works out. You know, that seems like it might be a little intensive, man. So 157, Koichi's asking, how many stops of dynamic range does it have? Is an improvement over the G2. So it is coming in at 14 stops of dynamic range, which is impressive. You know, 14 stops of dynamic range, Super 35, 12K resolution, 80 megapixels. That's what this sensor is touting. Let's see here. New Legend Pictures, Aaron Rosine is in here. He says, I noticed that 12K is really only possible in widescreen on this camera. The other dimension is 6.5K, so we're not getting a normal size sensor usage for the dimensions, it seems. Yeah, so that's what I was mentioning. You're getting, I think, a 17:9 at that largest 12K, which is slightly a little bit squeezed compared to you know, the full 16:9. A lot of times I find myself shooting in 2:1 or 2.4:1 these days. But yeah, so there are, of course, some little caveats, but that's only at the max 12K. Like, you've got some amazing other resolutions in this thing, you know, all the way down. I look at it kind of like like the way I look at fast lenses. Like, if I have a lens that's a 1.2, that's great. Am I always going to be at 1.2? No, but I know it's capable of it, and I know that the stuff below it, bring it to like a 2.8 or even a 2, I know that it's going to perform really well there. And that's kind of what I see here in terms of this resolution. You know, I threw that poll up, so make sure you go ahead and take that poll. I don't think I'd be shooting in 12K, but I think making use of a sensor like that to shoot in 4K or 8K or 6K could be useful for me. Not for everybody, and definitely it wouldn't be, you know, sitting up here above my computer as my webcam for these live streams. You know, can we do a 12K live stream? How about that? But, you know, I think it'd be a little much. All right, trying to catch up here. Rex is saying, I'm just very curious to see where the sensor text starts appearing. Yes, I am too. Now, I was holding off. So as many of you may know, I had the URSA Mini 4.6K for a long, long time. Loved that camera. There wasn't enough in the Pro for me to upgrade, and even really not enough in the Pro G2 for me to feel like upgrading. When I lost my 4.6K in the studio fire, I've held off on buying another one because I saw that the Pocket 6K came out, and the Pocket 6K was a 6K Super 35 sensor, and I was saying, you know what? I guarantee you, Blackmagic is just going to take the processing power in the URSA Mini body and put that 6K sensor in there. Well, they more than one-upped my expectations and have gone straight to 12K, which I don't think anybody was expecting. When they announced that yesterday, it was like the thumbnail says, I'm sorry, what? I have not ordered this camera. I'm not looking to drop 10 grand at this moment in time. I'm interested in it. It might be something that I might look into down the line. But like Rex in here, Langsonius Rex, I'm hoping to see this tech trickle down into something a little bit more affordable for me. Just because there's a lot more power in this than I think I need. But knowing that that is now possible means that, you know, it is possible in other camera bodies. So that, I think, is what is really interesting about this. And like I said, the pressure that this $10,000, just under $10,000 US price tag puts on other manufacturers. And I want to talk a little bit about where I think this camera is targeted, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Catching up in the chat here, you guys are awesome. Hope the color will be in the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. I also hope they bring the Color Science 5 to the Pocket cameras. I think that'd be great. 157 Pictures, Koichi is saying no ProRes is a big negative, right? For me, it is because I primarily only work in ProRes with all these cameras. I find it to be the best workflow. I'm not doing anything where I really need RAW most of the time. So this particular camera model, for me, yes, it is a limitation for me that it doesn't have ProRes. But I don't know that we're going to ever get ProRes with this tech because Blackmagic has designed this sensor and its capabilities for Blackmagic RAW. So it's optimized for that, meaning that a lot of the stuff that it's able to do, it might only be able to do because of the Blackmagic RAW codec. Now, I am no engineer for codecs and all of that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's there's science here that I don't understand. But I do want to get my hands on one and test it, because my feeling is that ProRes would have been a detriment to the quality of it. I think there would have been performance issues. I think there would have been limitations, and I think those limitations could be limitations of ProRes as opposed to limitations of their sensor. Just a thought. So maybe we get a ProRes update. Maybe they work with Apple. Maybe we get a 12K ProRes codec that is optimized and is able to, you know, handle that kind of data that's coming in. All right, we got a lot of questions coming in about this camera here. Rex was saying the same thing. Yeah, it depends on the workflow. For a lot of people, no ProRes is a big negative. And like I said, that's for this particular camera body. You know, this particular camera itself doesn't do that. But who knows if we'll see something in the future using this tech that can do that. Trevor says, I didn't feel like the color science needed to be upgraded. I've been super happy with the Pocket 4K. Yeah, you know, it's like we don't know what we want until we see it. Like, you know, we'll look at it and be like, oh, but then if you see Color Science 5, you might be like, oh, 4 looks bad. You know, it's one of those kind of things. Like, yeah, if I'm perfectly happy with Color Science 4, I have no complaints about it. But if there's a 5 that's better, I'm going to want it. We're greedy. We're greedy people. Maybe, so Andre's asking about ProRes. I think he's talking about maybe an Atomos to record ProRes to it. I think you're going to have problems because I'm not sure. Does anybody know what the maximum output on this is? Because it does have those SDI outs, like every URSA Mini Pro body, but I doubt it's popping out full 12K out of there. And I don't know of anything, even in Atomos, that is spec'd to take that in. And let's be honest, Atomos works with pretty much every camera company out there to integrate nicely, except Blackmagic. And it's kind of because Blackmagic likes to handle their own stuff. They have their Atomos, or not Atomos, their Blackmagic video assists and recorders, because they like to handle their own stuff. So they haven't really worked very much with Atomos to handshake with their cameras well. And I think it's because they felt they kind of didn't need to, because actually the internals of most of their cameras have recorded pretty much what you would get on an Atomos anyway, you know, those ProReses and those RAWs and whatnot. So I don't know about that. Not a fan of external recorders. Yeah, you know, hit and miss, but I'd like the stuff to be internal when possible. David Ellis is in here. Okay, so he says native sensor is 17:9, 16:9 is 11.5K, 2.4:1 is full width 12K, cropped height, and anamorphic is almost full height sensor with cropped width. Awesome. Thank you for those specs, David. That's good to know. And yeah, anamorphic on this, you know, utilizing as much of that sensor as possible. That's, man, there's so much I'd love to try. Kevin, the Basic Filmmaker, is asking, I don't see any ISO specs. Do you? That is a good question. I don't know that I have seen any ISO specs. I see in a lot of their pictures that it is set at 400. I'm going to guess that its native is 400, but as far as its high range, I don't know. I know that the other URSAs, you were usually, what did they get to with the G2? Does it go to 3200? You know, they've never had super high ranges. So I'm not sure. They've performed pretty well at the native, but I'm not sure exactly on that. So I'd have to do some digging. And if anybody does know some of the ISO specs, I need to go in here and maybe I can check in the tech specs. Let's take a look here together if you guys want to take a peek at this as well. Sorry if that's kind of tiny on there. Maximum frame rates, we've got that. So here you go. Here's resolutions and dynamic range. Again, this is on that Blackmagic site under the tech specs. Built-in ND. Interesting. Yeah, I don't see that they have an ISO range listed. I would assume it's something like 200 to 3200. Maybe 100 to, you know, up there. Obviously, it's not dual ISO, or they would have mentioned that because that would have been a big thing. You know, we do have that dual ISO in the pocket cameras, which is cool. But I'm not seeing on here at this particular. Kevin's saying native is 800. Okay, so native ISO on this is 800. There's so much info on this, guys. I was studying up. I've been studying up since the announcement to try and go through this, and I'm still finding new stuff in here. So let's go ahead and get back into here. Native ISO 800. Okay, so people are saying in there. Kevin's saying, yeah, 12K RAW at 578 megabytes per second. Yeah, that is super compressed. I don't want to call it super compressed, super compact in terms of, and that's because of that BRAW codec. So I want to show you guys what Kevin is talking about. Here we go. So a lot of people are worried about 12K and the file sizes, and yes, they will be bigger, but with all of the recording options inside for Blackmagic RAW, look at these bit rates. Look at these bit rates. I mean, you're able to do Q0 or 5:1 full sensor 12K readout at 24 frames per second at 570, just under 600 megabytes per second. That's kind of crazy. Of course, look at it compared to uncompressed. Uncompressed would be, you know, almost 3,000 megabytes per second. So that is crazy. The efficiency of that Blackmagic RAW codec and working hand in hand with this sensor is giving us file sizes that are almost unfathomably small for 12K RAW. Now it is BRAW, you know, not uncompressed RAW. Obviously that uncompressed RAW is still ginormous and requires some crazy speed. But I mean, this is pretty baller, if I may say so myself. Trying to keep you. Weight for drone use. I'm not sure of the weight. But I'm assuming it is not super light because they never really have been. Let me see if they have it in the tech specs here. They got connections, media, supported codecs, storage features, goodness gracious, software, power requirements, accessories. No, I'm not sure just offhand looking at it what the weight is. But for drone use, as you were asking, you're going to need a pretty beefy drone to put this up in the air, especially with you know, a bigger Super 35 lens on there and some sort of gimbal solution. So yeah, it'll need one of the big like Matrice series or something like that, I'm sure, from DJI to fly it, just like it did with the original you know, URSA Minis. They haven't changed much about the body, so they're, you know, pretty much standardized in terms of their size and form factor, and I would assume weight as well. Trevor was saying, if you look across the board, the new standard for a top body looks like it's 4K, at least 4K 60, some form of RAW or high data rate codec, 14 stops of dynamic range, 4K to 8K. Above this, you're chasing buzz. Yeah, so you're right. You know, we're and this has happened so quickly. Like 4K 60 has become something that we kind of just expect now. This has happened so fast that, you know, before we were like, not really. And of course, it doesn't mean that people are, using that all the time, but we kind of expect that as a capability in any camera that we get right now. It's just crazy. So we had that native in there. Let me catch up. Okay. Kevin found it. Says 5.6 pound body. Okay, thank you, Kevin, for finding that. Awesome. Teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work, as we all try and figure out everything about this camera. So Kevin says, I wonder if Premiere Pro will be able to get their hands on that B-RAW codec. So Premiere Pro does handle B-RAW right now. I don't know about the B-RAW 12K. There are test clips on their website right now. I have not personally pulled them down. Let me get to them. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. So if you go here, this is on that main landing page there. There are 3 clips here that you can download, and Blackmagic RAW has been implemented into Premiere Pro natively by Adobe. I haven't tried bringing these in and seeing if any craziness happens. Obviously, they really want you to be playing with this in the new beta of DaVinci Resolve, which they put out there, a beta that can handle this kind of stuff. So play with those if you're interested. I may play with these as well. I just haven't had the opportunity to take these and slap them into Premiere because I'm still being stubborn and I'm still a Premiere guy, even though I'm shooting so much Blackmagic. Really, really need to learn me some Resolve. Really need to. All right, let's get back here. 5.62 pounds. Let's see here, the B-RAW codec. Yeah, and Rex is saying anyone can implement the codec, I believe. Yes, they did put it out there. The SDK is freely available. And like I said, in the latest revisions of Adobe Premiere, even on Mac usually seems to get things later, but it is implemented here. Kevin says, okay, he did. He tried the 12K clips, did not work in Premiere Pro. So my guess is that they haven't released the SDK for, or maybe they did release the SDK for the 12K, but we're just gonna have to wait for these other NLEs to implement it to catch up. I mean, the camera's in nobody's hands yet. Until you know, they said they're getting it shipped out. It's pre-order right now. There is a link down below, an affiliate link, if you would like to pick up one of these $10,000 beauties and help out the channel that way. But you know, they said they're shipping them to high-end DOPs first. So it sounds like they really want to get this in the hands of some of the higher up industry people. And then they'll be shipping out to, you know, the rest of us folks who ordered them. I have not, so let me know if you have or not. I'd be interested to see who has gone for this. I want to get through this chat because I want to talk a little bit about who I think this is for as well. Trevor says, I couldn't get the test clips to play on my iMac. I was hoping for the actually raw data files. Okay. Oh, he tried with the Blackmagic RAW player. Still wouldn't play. Let's see here. David Else, the top data rate is 1.43 gigabytes per second full sensor at 60p. Woo! And David's saying there's a plugin required for Adobe Premiere Pro. Okay, so there's a plugin required at this moment for Premiere Pro. It's not native yet to go in there. I haven't played with the clips. I really want to. Yeah, Jared says high-end DOPs, so yours should be at your door in a day or two. Yeah, I know. When he said that, I was like, wait a second. I was like, who's making that judgment call? I was like, you know, why am I not a high-end DOP? I think I am. You know, I got Blackmagic cameras and stuff too. Like, come on, guys. Maybe I'll get a knock at the door and there'll be a 12K URSA Mini Pro. I doubt it. But what I do want to talk about is who I think this camera is for and or targeted at. So Blackmagic has definitely swung for the fences and I think is coming after, that sounds malicious, trying to get their foot in the door in a couple of aspects of the industry that they really haven't been as prominent in. And I think that's going to be higher end productions like movies. But in these days and times, I think stuff like Netflix productions, I think, you know, Amazon Prime productions, and now we've got Disney Plus, we've got NBC's Peacock was just released, all these streaming services that have these requirements. I think they're trying to move into that field. While a lot of things are being shot on Red for those, I think they're trying to push into that to say, hey, look, we've got something that can save you a lot of money on budget, can do all the stuff that you need for your high-end workflows, and can actually, you know, maybe work a little bit better. The other potential for them there is that if they can get their foot in the door in that, then they can get their foot in the door to sell their entire pipeline to that industry. You know, if you go with a Blackmagic camera that's optimized for this, you're probably going to edit your production, you know, your Netflix show or whatever it is, in DaVinci Resolve. So they're really trying to get themselves in there, and like I said, I don't want it to sound like they're being malicious or anything, but it is a competitive industry and they're trying to get their foot in the door, because a lot of people kind of look at Blackmagic and scoff, like it's like almost like a knockoff, you know. There's just not the respect for it that I see. There's so many memes that are out there making fun of us Blackmagic owners, but I think they're really getting in there to be like, hey, take us seriously and we can do some serious stuff for you. And this camera in particular, I think, is aimed higher than even what I would really get use out of it. But like I said, I want to see this as a flagship, and I want to see this tech and capabilities coming down into, you know, less powerful, less expensive cameras. Now, I feel silly saying less expensive because it's a 10 grand for a 12K camera. We can't really complain about price too much, but give me something that, you know, maybe you scale down some of the specs of it. You know, you don't fully, you know, give it the full horsepower. Like, I don't need the Ferrari, like maybe give me, I don't know, give me the GT model or something like that. That's a, you know, I still feel proud of it and can still do some insane stuff, but the, you know, it's not more than I can, one, use, and two, handle. So that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I would like to see. That's my thoughts here. That's what I think they're doing here. And if you look at their examples on here, you know, just looking at their marketing, I mean, they're showing stuff where they're shooting television shows. You know, they're shooting stuff that obviously looks like it's a television set. While some of their ones in the past, literally their marketing photos have been people shooting like a living room interview. Now, not saying that's not professional stuff, but I'm just saying they really seem to have, even with their marketing content here, be targeting that sort of higher end television industry. Television now being everything, you know, television now can even include full-length motion picture style stuff because of, you know, streaming services and all of that. That's just my thoughts. And I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Let's see what we got here. Oh my goodness. Rob, of course, is in here and is dropping a super chat. Awesome. Thank you very much, Rob. Rob is one of our regular super chat contributors here on the channel. And because of his lovely donations, this is something that I had not brought up yet. Since I have been rebuilding my basement studio after the fire back in November, you can check out all the content on my channel about that if you want to get caught up. But I am going to be putting together a plaque with all of our super chat donators, because I'm going to take all of the funds from super chats and use them obviously for stuff in the new YouTube studio. You know, I've been in this rental house for like 8 months now and I'm ready to go home. We have maybe 2 months left, really getting close, really hoping. But I have a mock-up of that lovely plaque with our contributors. I know some of you in the chat are on this. Where is my plaque? Where is my plaque? Is it this one? There it is. So this is just a goofy mock-up, but these are our super chat contributors so far whose funds have been put into the pool to go to the rebuilding of the new studio. I had to get you guys some cool space age graphics and excitement going there. But yeah, so anybody who does donate a super chat goes on this list, and I will have a physical plaque made that will be hanging in the new studio. No obligations to super chat. I do not expect you guys to do that. Do not feel guilted into doing so. That is just a thank you to those of you who do feel like supporting the channel. Thanks a lot. All right. We got a lot of chat here. We got a lot of chat. I like this. Let me get caught up. Okay, we were talking about SDKs, we were talking about Premiere Pro, we were talking about people not being able at the current moment to get those 12K clips, sample clips to work. We were talking about that's where we left off, high-end DOPs and why I am apparently not one. Come on, Blackmagic. Kevin says, I wonder if they'd give me a review copy for fun. I'll ask. You know, I've asked them many times. I do have a great rep over there at Blackmagic. They're very nice. I love them. They give me all the, you know, I don't get an advance heads up on anything. I just get notified that something's coming, pay attention. And I do when NAB was, you know, still happening. I miss it this year, obviously, you know. But I am always at their press conference and all that kind of stuff, so it's kind of cool. They don't really hand out those review units as much as other manufacturers. Maybe they just have confidence. They're like, no, we reviewed it. We know it's pretty beast. We know you're gonna want it. But yeah, hey, it can't hurt to ask, man. Kevin, go for it, man. And if you get one, I'll be super jealous. And we can do a remote thing, and I'll help review it live with you over Skype or Zoom or something like that. How about that? That'll work. All right, let's see what we got here. We got Blackmagic Tim in here, my man. I know you and I were even texting and chatting about this camera a little bit, or I guess we were talking on Facebook, but yeah, let's see here. Alex, Alex says, I'll wait 5 years when they're doing 30K and pick one up for pennies. Yeah, there you go. Wait until it's the outdated model, the 30K. I mean, this kind of resolution jump is just insane, guys. Like, nobody expected this. And like I said, I don't see it as being use it in 12K all the time. I just see it as a 12K capable sensor, but it's awesome that we're able to get RAW from the full sensor in those smaller resolutions. That's the technological breakthrough of this camera, I think. And the market breakthrough is the price. So two big shifts and pushes with this camera, I think. Whether the camera is something that you love, hate, want to order, have no interest in ordering, I think those two things alone should be something that you keep your eye on and consider. The advancement of the sensor tech and the pushing of lower price, higher capability cameras in this market. I think that's where the big holy crap is here, if you will. 222, let's see what we got here. Rex was talking to Kevin about doing green screen stuff. I was mentioning in that poll that I shared, if you have not done that yet, please make sure to go ahead and do that, because it's always cool to see. Let me pull it up here. So this was the poll that we shared. Oops. This was the poll that we shared at the beginning. I will put another link in the chat if you haven't yet. I want to know if you had this camera, so that we're going to assume that, you know, you don't have to worry about dropping the 10 grand. It's already, you have it, you know, you're a high-end DOP and it's in your hands. When would you personally make use of this 12K footage? So there's another link in the chat if you are just joining us or didn't see the link. And for those of you watching the replay, it's in the description down below, so you guys can go ahead and vote. I have not checked the results yet. We're going to check the results at the end of the live stream. Let's see here. Gotta get caught up. 10K is great. Yeah, talking the price. For no one vested in Blackmagic yet, what do you think the add-on cost would be? In other words, what's the whole cost? You know, that is a good question, because, you know, media is a pricey thing. You know, the originals needed CFast cards, but they have added that USB-C capability, meaning you can get much more affordable USB-C drives and record directly to them. You don't need an expansion slot. They are accepting USB-C recording on this, which is going to be huge for a lot of people, a time saver. I don't know if the camera comes with a battery plate and power cable, because I will be honest with you, the URSA Minis for the longest time did not. You had to buy a battery plate separately and unscrew the back thing and put it in there. I think that may still be the case here, which is kind of funny and kind of funky. Gives you the flexibility to power it however you want, but it means that when you pull the camera right out of the box, at least this is the way it was with my 4.6K, the first thing you want to do is turn the thing on, but you couldn't. You had to, you had to have the extra accessories and, V-mount batteries or gold mount batteries if you wanted that, or get an adapter plug. It came with the thing that went into the back of the camera, the XLR power and the converter thing, but it didn't actually come with the physical plug cable. They may have fixed that now. It's been a while since I bought an URSA Mini, but I just always thought that was funny. But yeah, there are going to be additional costs. Media and power. Media power lenses. That's where your cost is going to be. Media, they have done a great job in bringing that cost down, because where before you needed CFast, now you're able to connect these affordable SSDs via USB-C. That's a huge thing in terms of bringing down the overall operating cost of this camera. An exact estimate, I haven't spec'd one out to build one in like a B&H shopping cart yet to get it fully going. But those are your big things: power, and media. Okay, let's see here. Going through. Aaron likes the plaque idea. Thank you. I thought that was kind of fun. It'll be a cool thing to put up and do when we've got everybody in there. And again, here we'll pop it up again just for fun. I just like that effect, the stock footage that I dropped behind it for there. So thank you again to all of our contributors in the super chats and all these live streams. I love it. All right, back to our chat here. Oh yeah, Alex is saying something pretty cool. This sounds like it's really for National Geographic and doc work. I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, you could get some serious high resolution, great documentary stuff out there, like those Planet Earth series that they did. Imagine if they had these cameras for that like Planet Earth series that they did a few years ago. Man, that would be crazy beautiful. That was crazy beautiful back then. I mean, this is just, it's crazy. David said, squarely aimed at people productions with more formal workflows, it seems. Yeah, I would say that too. Or if you have an existing one. So, I mean, I do have a workflow here that would be able to handle that, whether I was stubborn and stuck with Premiere still and used a plugin, or whether I finally taught myself to use Resolve that I've had for who knows how many years, which needs to happen. But yeah, this particular model, they're trying to get that entire workflow from camera to post to everything, I think into those more professional, I hate saying it like that. It's not more professional, but those Netflixes, those Amazon Primes, those Hulus, those kind of productions, commercial television stuff. I think that's just what I'm thinking. Marani Lewis is saying, yep, doing the ecosystem play. Apple employs the same strategy. Yeah, that's what I think is going on. Mark Holler, thanks to YouTube 2x playback, even if I was late, I could get up to date on it. And Mark, I loved your comments at the very beginning. I did call them out. You had some great comments in there in the very beginning, talking about why this camera is kind of a big deal, and you actually pretty much hit all the points on that I was going to talk about in this show. But I'm going through with it anyway. Okay, you can't do my whole show for me before my show even started. Aaron's asking, how do you think that they were able to launch this without any rumors of it leaking at all? I think there's the reason that they were able to launch this without rumors of it leaking, same thing with their Pocket 6K and stuff, is because they are pretty much doing every part of it. There's not a lot of different hands in the pot that they have to worry about trusting to get this out. They are making this thing in their own kitchen. you know? And so we don't see a lot of leaks coming from them. Also, we don't see a lot of review units going out. And if they do go out, they go out to people that it's very limited and they're very secretive with the projects. So the projects that this may have already been working on, even those are so secret we don't know about them yet until they're released. So I think that's how Blackmagic is able to do this. You know, they trust their team and a lot of their stuff is kept in-house. Even a lot of the parts that they use in the manufacturing and stuff is them. So just fewer points for you know, people to, you know, nitpick and peek and leak stuff. I think that's how they do it. Yeah, and Blackmagic Tim talking about the RGB sensor. Yeah, RGB sensor. And it says now we need 12K primes on a 12K sensor. Yeah, let's not. I don't even know what kind of lens tech you're gonna need for this. It's yeah, because obviously there are limitations of the optics, and if we're talking 12K, obviously they were shooting with some pretty high end. Let's see what lenses do they have on there. Yeah, they got some Zeiss, what are those, Supreme primes on there? Yeah. Yeah, Zeiss Supreme primes. So that looks like the ones that they're using for a lot of their sample and test stuff. And I'm sure there's, and of course these are PL. They did say that there will be an EF mount available as well, which would be, that's the way that I go. I'm an EF guy, but. All right, let's get back here. I'm trying to keep up with you guys. You guys are all over the place. Alex is saying, imagine the Laowa probe lens shots in 12K. Wow. Somebody needs to try that as soon as the EF model comes out. That would be freaking cool. That Laowa probe lens that's like super macro and like they slide through like books and like, you know, all that would be cool to see in that extreme resolution. Some stuff like macro stuff and everything in that extreme resolution I think would be absolutely gorgeous. And that's where that like doc kind of work or like nature work, I think this would just be like mind-blowing. That's where seeing an actual 12K image, you'd be like, wow. Now, where are you going to display in 12K? That's a whole nother thing, remember? I don't know about you guys, but I don't have an 8K TV, let alone a 12K TV. So we gotta think about that too. But like I said, I think this is a huge tech and market pricing advancement, is really what's in here. While it may not be practical for me, and maybe not for you, I think that's where the excitement really is. So yeah, Mark Oliver is saying, I wonder how those weird shirt patterns, so he's talking about like moire at 12K and no info about the rolling shutter. Yeah, you know, it's going to be pulling a lot of data at 12K off of that, so we don't know how fast its readout will be necessarily. So there is a lot of testing and stuff that remains unseen, but you know, it still is impressive. Blackmagic Tim was saying, hey, is this dual ISO or how high is the ISO? We weren't able to find a max ISO at this time, just as a quick look. I believe native is 800, and I've heard no mention of it being dual ISO. I feel like if it was dual ISO, that would have been a big selling point in their announcement. So I don't believe it's dual ISO, and we have seen that the native is 800. I have not seen what the range is, Tim. Sorry about that. Mark is saying I think the reason they sent it to Pro DP is because they have because they do have those high quality lenses. Yeah, because our Canon lenses won't handle that 12K. Yeah, you want to slap you know, I got my 12K camera. Let me put my $300 Rokinon 50mm on it. Oh, why does it look funky? Might be the Rokinon. Not dissing the Rokinon lenses, guys. I have a full set of them, and even after I got my Schneider Xenon lenses, I still keep my set of Rokinons, you know, for backups if I need duplicates of a focal length or something. So I don't want anybody hating on me or unsubscribing because I said something that seemed bad about the Rokinons, okay? Rokinons have their place, but on a 12K camera, probably not the place. Rob, I saw you had a comment in here. Do you see this as an upgrade path for current Blackmagic design shops or to grow beyond their current market? So I talked about this a little bit earlier. I think this particular model, I think they are making a play at high end, but I think the excitement for us is the tech that I believe is coming soon. Looks like my Streamlabs OBS just froze for a second there, so you guys may have a cool freeze frame for a minute of me like this. But we'll see if that went through on the stream. But that's what I'm thinking. I think the excitement is the tech of this trickling down into a little bit more, yeah, I see it now popping up, a little bit more consolidated, not consolidated, but spec'd down units, but seeing this capability coming in there. But I really think they made a swing for the fences to get into that high-end market with this camera right here. Yeah, David saying they don't ship the cables with any of their products because of power regionalization. Yeah, I understand why they did it, but I would have thought that it would have been nice for them instead to just give me a power cable for each region. You know, you're spending several $1,000s, and I can buy the power cable I need for a couple bucks on Amazon, you know, when you get it. But come on, just make it so that I can bust open my camera out of the box, and even though I don't have a battery plate attached on it right away, at least let me plug it into the wall and play with it. That was just my thought. You know, that's just a nitpicky thing. But yeah, I did understand why they didn't include that portion of the AC power configuration. Let's see, I'm jumping all over the place here. Trevor saying it's for people shooting big screen features. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. But also for people who have smaller teams, since you can get multiple angles out of one frame grab. Very smart post-coronavirus body. Okay, so you think this is the perfect post-coronavirus body because you don't need multiple crew members. You can do it just yourself. And you can shoot the whole thing, and you're right, you know, imagine that punch in on 12K. You get a wide, there's been the joke going around that you slap a wide angle lens on there and you've shot pretty much every focal length that you're going to need, because, you know, imagine if you punched into like 1080 on a project from 12K. I don't even know what the percentage on that would be. That's insane. Is that like 600% or something? Because 1080 is close to 2K to 12K. I don't know. I got to do the math. That was just off the top of my head, but hopefully I'm right. But yeah, that's a serious crop. That's serious punch-in capabilities there. And stabilization, you know, that warp stabilization, would love that. It looks like YouTube's a little angry at me, but whatever. It'll catch up. All right. So David's saying if you divide the sensor dimension by resolution, you see the pixel per inch is about the same size that matches cinema lens performance equals 200 line pairs per millimeter. Interesting. Okay. So you're saying, so Zeiss Otis equals Supremes. Interesting. So you're saying that some of the existing lenses, you did the math to divide the sensor resolution to the pixel per inch to matching the line pairs per millimeter of certain cine lenses, and that there is stuff out there. That is impressive, and that's something I don't know much about. I'll have to do the research and check in on that, because that's cool to know how to calculate that and take a look at that. That could definitely come in handy. Furworks is in here. Good to see you. It says, I shoot everything 4K and only own a 720p TV. Never change, man. You know what? You're not worried about it. You don't need it. You're good. Somebody else telling Tim that sadly it is not dual ISO. Yeah, you know, if it had been dual ISO, I mean, how much are we expecting them to give us? This is already a huge advancement and a brand new sensor, not just tweaking one that they had before. They've built something from the ground up here with a tech that has not been seen before, which is pretty cool. Kevin is saying, another thought, I've been involved in projects where a leak could be actionable if it got traced to you at $20,000 per receipt of the info. Keeps your mouth shut. Yeah, that could very much well be as well. I was hoping to sort of lean towards more of Blackmagic employees and their respect for the honor system, but you're right, you know, there could also be, if someone's working on a project with this embargoed, you know, 12K camera, there could be financial repercussions for leaking something as well. I don't know what their NDA, what the Blackmagic NDA looks like, because I've never had one. Anybody who has had one obviously will not be able to talk about it. Yeah, they do tend to keep these things under wraps. Because I mean, did anybody see this coming? When they announced it, it was like, yeah, okay, what do they got? Like, I thought maybe we'll get another pocket cam. I thought maybe we'd get that 6K sensor put into an URSA Mini body. When I see the new URSA Mini body on there, I'm like, okay, I think I was right. And then it's 12K, and I'm sorry, what? Once again, I appropriately titled this the thumbnail on this one, because that's exactly what came out of my mouth when I saw that. Alex Miner saying, whenever these new cameras come out, I just hope it makes the GH5 prices drop on eBay. Yeah, you know, there are still many, many existing great cameras out there, and all this new tech hopefully does, you know, bring some prices down. Blackmagic really doesn't seem to drop the prices on their stuff so much. Obviously, they did that surprise drop of the pocket cams a little bit ago, but really, you know, normally they actually don't devalue their older cameras that much. But yeah. But, you know, keep an eye out there, man. Fingers crossed for you to find a, you know, a cheaper price out there on another GH5. Devin's in here. Good to see you, man. Just says, I'm excited. Man, a few words. He's excited. What else you got to say? I am too. I would like to get my hands on one of these. I would like to play with it, because who wouldn't? I don't know about owning it. That's a big chunk of change for something that I don't feel I would get the full capability use out of. But if they come to rental houses in this area, you know, maybe I pick one up and play with one and just geek out over some 12K Blackmagic RAW. Why not? So that could be cool. All right. Ooh, chat just exploded for a second there. Let's see what we got. So they presented one URSA recorder to transfer data fast to fast SSDs. Yes. So they actually had this before that can be integrated into. Let me pull it up on here. What you're referring to? Where did it go? So they had this before as well, but it is a welcome feature. So here we go. So just like before, they have the URSA Mini recorder. They introduced this, I think it was available for the G2 as well, but it slots in onto the back and connects, and then you would attach a battery plate onto the back so it goes in between, and you can actually take like internal SSD drives, just bare SSDs, and insert them into this caddy, almost like, you know, an Atomos recorder, and then you can record to that. So yeah, and up to 900 megabytes per second. It's U.2 NVMe disk capable. So they are giving you as many recording options as possible on this, because they know you're gonna, you know, media is gonna change, and it's gonna be varying prices, and they're gonna try and make use of that so that there's many people as possible can make use of this camera. High-speed photo lenses. So yeah, people are talking about what lenses might actually be, you know, able to handle this. So Devin's asking, so Devin, I was wondering about this too, because I couldn't find it. Maybe I'll take a peek here. It says, how crazy the camera can't output its native resolution. 12D SDI only does 4K 60, right? Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the output is. I'm pretty sure this is not outputting. So yeah, you've got 12G SDI is the highest output, and that is at the rear. So I don't know what that full output is. So if it is only 4K 60, then yeah, you're not going to be outputting 12K from this camera, especially because the 12K and everything recorded inside the camera is tailored for Blackmagic RAW. So you would need to sort of be sending Blackmagic RAW out. There's stuff going on there that I couldn't speculate on. But yeah. Let's see here. Okay, we're coming down to the end of the chat here, and we are just over an hour, so we're going to start wrapping up here pretty soon. But I do want to get through all of these lovely chat questions. You guys have been awesome. You guys have got me my voice going hoarse trying to keep up with you guys this time. This is fantastic. And if you're not here in the live and you're watching the replay, man, you got to make sure to click subscribe and that notification bell so you can hang out with all these wonderful people and join in this conversation. I knew it would be a good conversation on this camera, but this has been a really good one. Let's see here. So yeah, David Ellis is saying limit on the 12G SDI is UHD 60p, just under 10G. Okay, so yeah, you're not gonna be getting. You're not going to be getting that output. And I didn't expect to see it be able to output that. If you think about it, even the Pocket 4K and Pocket 6K, I know they're HDMI outputs, but they can only output 1080. So I think really what they're considering with that is that the outputs are really for monitoring purposes because the recording inside does everything you'd pretty much want to. At least that's the way that they see it. You know, you got ProRes in there, you got RAW in there. What kind of recorder are you going to be putting on there? Like what additional benefits would you get besides monitoring? So I think that's kind of why they don't put as much emphasis on the outputs and more on the internals. Just speculation from a consumer over here is what I'm thinking here. Let's see here. Okay, we're talking about that. Kevin saying, hilarious, $5,000 computer shows your voice out of sync with the video, $700 iPad does not. Well, hopefully it's not my stream. I did have a little stream glitch and it might have thrown your computer out of sync there. So if it was me, my bad. Actually, no, not my bad. YouTube's bad, not my bad. I'm fine. Just, David has, you can't monitor 12K anywhere unless you build an LED wall. Yeah, very true. You know, it's just, it's not really a monitoring or display format, is it? It's definitely a high-end capture format at this moment. Let's see here. Furworks is asking, doesn't 8K require 4 times 12G SDI? So we're getting into a realm here where I honestly don't know. So I don't know what you need for what outputs from 3G SDI, 12G SDI, all those versions and stuff like that. I would admittedly have to do my research. Sounds like David Ellis knows his stuff about it. You know, maybe he can share a little bit of info after the fact in the comments down below. But I am not sure, and I would hate to say the wrong thing talking about what is required for what resolutions and frame rates with what type of SDI. So I don't want to give you guys the wrong info there. Ooh, Mark Oliver has a good thing. She says, I wonder if new tech will be created to help focus, especially when it might look sharp at 4K, but not at 12K. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting because, of course, the autofocus in the Blackmagic cameras, not great / non-existent. It's not continuous. It's just like spot autofocus with, you know, autofocus lens. But how sharp are you? How in focus or out of focus are you? 12K is going to show your mistakes. Even 4K, it's difficult sometimes. You know, that much resolution will show you the difference. Well, okay, you focused on their eyelashes and not their pupil. So 12K is going to be like, oh, do not miss. So yeah, I don't know what kind of focus tech will come into play in the future to try and handle a resolution like that. Devin's asking, does Blackmagic RAW work well with Premiere yet? All this talk of editing 12K RAW on a laptop probably works great with DaVinci, but I've been disappointed Adobe doesn't have GPU acceleration for it. Yeah, so Blackmagic RAW, I've played with it a little bit. It works, but it's not awesome in Premiere. It is natively accepted in the latest version of Premiere. It does play pretty well for me because I have my Mac Pro. But yeah, for these 12K and obviously the examples of the 12K BRAW, they are building it for their pipeline to be optimized for Resolve. Doesn't mean you can't, you know, put it into other things and fight through it. We're waiting for the APIs and everything to come out. Or did I say that right? API? I'm just talking. We're waiting for the other NLEs to get a little update to be able to handle the 12K B-RAW, because I'm hearing reports, and I haven't tried it yet, that those sample clips of the 12K do not go into Premiere at this time. So, yeah, they really are targeting it to go with DaVinci, and that's how they've been able to do it. But the capability will be there, but it's kind of the burden is on Adobe and Final Cut and all them to optimize their platforms to make use of the SDKs that Blackmagic has made available to them. So any optimization has to be done by the software manufacturer. So that's, you know, where we get hit and miss in terms of performance. So Trevor's saying, do you think the prices on any of the other bodies have to move with the introduction of this camera? I don't. I don't think the G2 price is going to change. I don't think the pocket cameras prices are going to change. I think they strategize their pricing very well. I think this camera is at a price point where if you're looking to drop some serious money, you're either looking at like a red or this, and you're going to look at this and you're going to be like, okay, I was ready to spend more money. Now I'm going to save some money. I'm going to buy this. But if you're in the realm of like a little bit lower, sort of like where I am, you know, you're going to look at and be like, okay, the pockets are good. Or even a G2, I think is priced right. What are those, like $6,000 for the capabilities? You know, I'm losing probably about $4,000 worth of capability between the G2 and this 12K, but I think that makes sense. I don't believe that they price their stuff that it really drops in value very much. So I'd be surprised if we see them shift. If they shift at all, I could maybe see them shifting like the pocket cameras did recently, where it's maybe a $500-ish shift. Now I know one of them, the 4K, I think dropped like a lot, but yeah, or sorry, the 6K dropped quite a bit, dropped like $1,000. But I really think if they shift at all, it'll be like a $500 shift. But I don't even expect that, to be honest. Just my thoughts. So Kevin, I love your hashtag peanut gallery on there. It's like, okay, what do we got coming now? He's saying, does it overheat at 8K and 12K? So I obviously can't say because I haven't had my hands on one, but I would seriously doubt that it would, because as an owner of the of a Blackmagic URSA Mini, I have seen the body and I have seen what's inside of it, and that whole body is a sensor, a giant set of heat pipes and fans, and you can see through the camera body. When you hold them up, you can see through it. Like, that thing is basically built for cooling and processing horsepower. So you're gonna get some heat coming off of it. You know, even with my 4.6K, you put your hand on it and be like, ooh, that's a pretty toasty air coming off of it. But the fact of the matter is, the air is coming off of it. So I don't think that they would have any problems with overheating, because that entire body is a giant heatsink with a couple of circuit boards in it, at least from the way that the URSA Minis previously have been built. So I don't think overheating would be a problem. This is not an R5 where we're cramming all that stuff into a compact ventless body. Not to dig at the R5, still very impressive camera, but I think this form factor of the URSA Mini body is a cinema camera. It is built to handle these kind of things. Which is why I was excited and looking forward to them taking the Pocket 6K sensor and putting it into an URSA Mini body. But then, like I said, they, well, more than one-upped me, and they said, ah, we'll go straight to 12K. Crazy. Okay, a little bit of talk about Adobe and B-RAW. Mark's saying the other announcement of the cheaper Blackmagic 3G monitor, they actually removed 2500 nits screen, blah, blah, blah. That was disappointing. So I really didn't pay much attention to the their other monitor tech and stuff like that. I really haven't used theirs very much. So I kind of just drooled over the camera and then kind of spaced out and, you know, was in all the forums and watched all the live tweets flow in and all that kind of stuff. So I can't really dig into that right there. Furworks is saying, I can't believe the micro cinema and studio cameras still have never dropped in price. Yeah, like I said, they really don't. You know, they like to, they think they price them right, and they're gonna hit. Trevor says, please dig at the R5 because it's ridiculous. Although the rumor is the A7S III is also a fanless body. Gee whiz, man. Yeah, you know, we're starting to get into the limitations of what physics can handle, people here. There is heat generated by all of this processing, and it's got to go somewhere. So, and the good thing is that like I said, even from the earliest URSA Mini bodies, it has the room in there. It is built as a cooling and you know, computing and processing body. The actual turret at the front where the sensor is it's just sensor and giant heat pipes, man. So they set themselves up with a body that they knew they could grow into, and man, oh man, have they. Because I doubt they have to do a lot of R&D and a lot of engineering to upgrade the guts. I think they really can focus more on their sensor tech. Maybe you know, of course, they're gonna need a few changes inside, but I think they have a chassis that is serving them well, and I think will serve them well for a while. All right, we're going to start wrapping it up here. Kevin says, I have a 4K XF400 from Canon with the same heat dissipation and fans that can be controlled. That's what blew me away on the heat issues with them. They have the tech. Interesting. So you're saying that one has heat issues, but it's the same kind of setup where it has the fans, it has the heat pipes and all that. You know, I've never used an XF400. But that's interesting that if it was overheating on you, that's crazy. I never had my URSA Mini 4.6K overheat, and it is a black metal camera, and I used it outside in the sun, not in the shade, many a time. It got toasty, yes, but it was pumping that heat out via those fans. Make sure you're not blocking those fan ports, obviously, but literally you could see through the camera because it was just a big pass-through radiator for that heat. And having not been hands-on with this camera, but seeing that the chassis, you know, the body is pretty much what we've seen before, I'm going to say that it's probably the same type of construction and cooling and ventilation. But anyway, guys, this has been awesome. Pardon me. You guys are drying my mouth out here. I knew that there would be a lot of good discussion, a lot of interest in this camera. Whether people are for it, whether people are, why did they make this? Like I said, I think the two biggest things are, I'm gonna iterate it again in case you weren't here earlier and missed it, but I think it's this new sensor tech, that RGB sensor that is allowing a 12K sensor to be used fully in RAW at lower resolutions like 4K, 6K, and 8K. Previously, to my knowledge, not possible without punching in on the sensor to those resolutions. Crazy tech, want to see where it gets implemented, where it goes. Second thing I think is big is that we have a 12K camera for $10,000. I think that is going to put some pressure on the other camera manufacturers. I think it is going to drive innovation, and I think it is a good thing. You know, competition between manufacturers is something that drives tech forward, and the consumers, we are usually the benefit. We reap the benefits of that, and so I think that's a great thing. So while this 12K camera might not be for you, I would keep an eye on what's happening out there, not only with just Blackmagic, but with other manufacturers in terms of pricing and in terms of tech in the future. But I cannot forget, we need to check and see what you guys here live said about using 12K footage and how you would personally use it. So we are going to go to our poll. Let me get this on here. Here we go. Here is our results of our live poll during the show today when I asked, would you personally make use of 12K footage? And actually, this kind of surprises me. So I had set this up as, okay, you have the camera in hand, so that part's taken care of. But would you actually set it to that 12K mode and go for it? And actually, most people said, you know, if I had the media storage and computer for it, I would use it all the time. I guess really the hindrances then for those people is, yeah, okay, what would storage cost? What would your media cost? And what would a computer that could really, you know, plug through it? Although even they say a laptop could do it. Actually down here at the lowest is I would never have a reason to use it. Interesting. I would have thought there'd be a lot more people who would say never. But we're getting an interesting spread here. So this was our live audience here, guys, taking the poll. If you are watching the replay after the fact, there is a link down in the description to this poll. I like to leave them live. So please feel free to go in there and cast your vote and let me know how you would personally make use of 12K footage. All right, cool. We had a couple of last things come in here, so I'm going to try and tear through those real quick, and then we're going to get out of here, and I'm going to let you all get on with your Saturdays, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of talk about the R5. Could have added a heat pipe, okay. Yeah. Wasn't overheating. Oh, okay, so Kevin was saying his camera wasn't overheating. He said that's the point. They have the tech, and they should have put that in the R5. Yeah. You know, heat. You know, I'm seeing lots of stuff about heat, and I don't think we're going to have any issues seeing that with this URSA Mini. I was a little bit worried about it and skeptical when I saw the Pocket 6K. I was like, how are they going to cool that thing? But it does have some beefy fans in it as well. So there we go. Red cameras overheat. Yes, they do. I know that they do. Or they make a huge amount of noise if you let that fan run at full speed. Yeah, that is definitely true. I've heard some Reds screaming with those fans. It's pretty crazy. Kevin was saying survey results. We just did the survey results. Check. Thank you for not letting me forget. I got in there. Trevor saying I didn't know Red had heat issues. A lot of the earlier ones had heat issues. I think they do a little bit better now. But yeah, there we go. Okay. We made it through chat. We made it through taking a look at this amazing new camera, amazing new tech, and amazing price for it. I appreciate all you guys who hung out in here live. I love these live streams. You know, it's the interaction and the chatting with you guys is always the best. So hopefully you guys had a good time hanging out here as well. Like I said, I'm going to get you all off and on with the rest of your lovely Saturdays. If you did not join us live, what's your problem, man? All you got to do is hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell and make sure that it's set to, you know, get all the notifications. There's a couple settings in there, fix it so that you can join us because this is fun. I am going to do my absolute best to really get back on track for the Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I know I missed a few weeks. Everything has just been crazy with the house. The house is getting very close. There's a lot of stuff happening, and the only time I've had to actually go over there and get stuff done and work on projects that I need to has been the weekends. So I've had to I've had to disappear on a few weekends, but promise guys, gonna try and keep up on it. And I will always keep you updated on social media and here on the channel if we are gonna be moving or skipping a show. So please do subscribe to me on all those things. And also, if you guys wanna hang out, I know a lot of you guys already are a part of it. I should have mentioned this earlier, but there's a link down below to our Discord server where you can chat with me, hang out, keep up to date, ask questions. We can do all that stuff anytime. So even if I'm not live, you can still chat with me live. Aram coming in right at the end with a super chat. Thank you, my man. You are one of those lovely people on our, where'd it go? On our plaque. You are on there, my friend. I made the name change as you requested, but yes, here is our plaque at the end of this week. That's a lot of fun to put up there. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. I'm going to get out of here. And, man, let's keep an eye on what Blackmagic is up to, because these are some exciting, exciting times. All right, guys, take care of yourselves.